So we give it one more minute before we kick off, I guess. For everybody who's new in this group, welcome. Just wanted to point out that what we're trying to do here is this meetup, try to make it as much as a real networking session that you would do in person. I would say pre-COVID, and we're hoping very soon post-COVID. But if you feel like it, feel free to grab your favorite beverage to join us. If you want to take a minute for that, and then we'll kick it off soon. I see someone's leaving. Good.
How about my favorite snack?
Yeah.
Does snacking work?
That's a good one too. Go ahead, Tammy.
Snacks,
Okay,
whatever works.
Crunching, and then that turns into really distracting. So I'll just be on mute and just, just watch you guys while you guys drink, and you guys can watch me eat. So.
I'll try to drink silently.
We're all among friends. I think that's the motto here.
That's the motto, absolutely.
Well, I have a Peloton ride planned after this call, so I have to hydrate a little bit. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it.
Wow, Peloton.
Just so you know, Jan William, we have a Strava group for Softland partners. So I will.
Okay.
While we're on, I will put the Strava group up. Anyone is welcome to join.
Seriously, Bill? Okay.
What's that?
I said, seriously, that's cool, a Strava group.
Well, I mean, particularly right now, it's nice to have that community, and we can all kind of enjoy each other's activities a little bit remotely.
Okay. I did 7,200 Strava kilometers last year due to COVID.
Wow.
Well, you may make the leaderboard then.
Yeah.
I'm happy if my dog goes out for a walk.
Well, you can put your device on your dog. I mean, those miles count or those kilometers count. That's fine.
That is an excellent idea.
And what kind of dog do you have, Tammy?
I have a English Bulldog / Pug mix.
Really?
Wow. Okay.
Lay down.
Now we want to see it.
Yeah, I want to see it. Yeah, for sure.
I am happy to do that. Let me turn off my video, like my background, so then that way you guys can see.
The Strava link is up there right now.
I gotta show you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So I'll come in.
Yeah, feel free to join.
Okay, there he is. Ah, that's awesome.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Oh, that's a good mix.
Yeah.
That's a good.
He's used to this now because I do this to him quite often.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's the vice president of operations right there. I see it. Oh, Dennis, we probably ought to roll because we're gonna run out of time in the hourglass.
I was literally like, thanks for that, Bill. So welcome everybody to the February Softland Partners Ontario meetup. We actually have 2 sessions going that we're combining. We started with Toronto, then we expanded it to the GTA. We kicked in Ottawa as well, and let's just do an Ontario meetup. It's much easier. I'm Dennis. For everybody who's linked with me on LinkedIn, I'm the FDI guy. Nice to meet you. I'm the chapter leader here. I became a chapter leader very easily. I joined the Amsterdam version. Bill, how many do we have? I think we've got 19 going right now.
19 going, yeah. We're on 5 of the 7 continents now, so pretty fun.
Absolutely cool. I joined the Amsterdam one and basically said to Bill, hey, Bill, we don't have one in Toronto. And here we are. Our agenda today is going to feature very quickly some self-introductions. Then we're going to move on to our external guest speaker, expert, moderator, all of the above, who's going to give us a nice update on grants and incentive. And then we're going to have some time afterwards to discuss a little bit more, but also talk about needs and opportunities that you might have. If you have a client who's looking for something, or you're looking for a connection, that's the time basically to speak up. We'll get that flowing as well. Let me see, because we're getting a little bit of Zoom fatigue. Like I said earlier, feel free to grab a beverage. What we're trying to do here is keep it as informal as possible because we're doing too many of these every day as it is. So again, grab a drink, grab a snack. We're all with friends today. And yeah, feel like you are among friends. There's a chat button as well. If you have something to share, go ahead and do that as well. Right, I want to kick it off with some self-introductions. Please, if you can, quickly share your name, who you represent, and what you do. And because of the number of people we have, let's keep it around 30 seconds if we can. I'll ask the first one to get started. Once you're done, that person can basically nominate and tell the next one to kick it off. Jonathan, you're in my screen right next to me. So if you want to kick it off, go ahead.
I get to go first. Fantastic. No bar to beat. My name's Jonathan Hunt. I'm Ecosystem Partnerships Manager for McMaster Innovation Park, which basically means I work globally on creating and maintaining or improving collaborative relationships with innovation ecosystems. That can be universities, colleges, or actual innovation parks. And I work very closely with the Hamilton people, so I will nominate Tammy to go right after me.
Thanks, Jonathan. Hi, everyone. My name is Tammy. I'm from the city of Hamilton. Invest in Hamilton. Trying to show it off in my virtual background here. My role is I work with immigrants, newcomers, international firms, foreign direct investment. So I'm particularly interested in working with other ecosystems and supporting the one that we have in our backyard, which is McMaster Innovation Park. And this is my first time, so I'm super excited to be here and I'm interested in learning. But I'm going to pass it off to my friend Hissam in Enterprise, Florida. So Hissam.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you, Tammy. We have a long history. We've been working closely with this region of Hamilton, so it's good to see you here. For those who don't know me, I represent the state of Florida's investment and trade organization here in Canada. We have two offices, one in Toronto and one in Montreal. So we basically work with Canadian companies looking to invest and expand to Florida. So it's a pleasure to connect with everyone. I'll pass it to Brian, who I had a pleasure to meet a long time before COVID and before he had a beard. So it took me a couple of minutes to recognize him, but it's all yours, Ryan.
Thanks, Sam. I'm Brian Cookson. I'm with RDP Associates. Basically, we help companies get government grants and tax incentives. So we've been operating in Canada since 1987. We operate across Canada. We also operate in other countries. So we do the same thing in those other countries like the US, UK, a lot of countries in Europe, helping those companies get grants and tax credits. So today I'm going to be speaking a little bit about the grants in Canada and what's new for 2021. So I'm going to pass it over to Bill.
Thanks, Brian. And I got to say, it's awesome to see everybody. So just to give you a quick thumbnail on Softland Partners, we started about a year ago. Our only true north, the only thing we're trying to accomplish is to take the friction out of the process of companies connecting with best fit partners and service providers, support organizations as they internationalize and market enter. We have a company that helps other international B2B companies exhibit at US trade shows. And we've just found that that's a huge issue. And clearly it's getting reinforced by those of you participating today, that friction. We've seen situations where clients have wasted tons of money and failed miserably before we've met them. And by the nodding heads, it looks like a few of you have had that same experience where your clients kind of come to you as damaged children. And we want to really help prevent that issue. And so part of the process here is to build really dense local communities of support where we can have a good base of folks to refer our clients to who are both competent and ethical. And so that's really what we're all about, and certainly great to have you here. And the one thing I would really charge you with or challenge you with is while we're going through this meetup today, identify one or two people to chat with after the meetup. How we're going to go strong, grow strong is certainly by having more intimate relationships with a few rather than being superficial with many. So I am going to pass it off to Sarah. Sarah, do you want to go next?
Hi everyone, nice to be back. My name's Sarah Fagan. I'm an immigration lawyer at Corporate Immigration Law Firm in Toronto. As you may have guessed, I'm an immigrant myself. I've tried to hang on to my accent. I've been here about 12 years now. So I came over from Ireland in 2009 during the crash as a newly qualified solicitor, and have been through a lengthy process along the way, various immigration applications, and I'm now a dual citizen of Canada and Ireland. The program that I came here on was the Working Holiday program, and some of you may be familiar with that. And so that program is actually reopening on March 1st, which is pretty exciting news for a lot of companies and employers here in Canada. And I've probably almost hit my 30 seconds. Our firm assists individuals and companies, you know, with bringing people into the country and keeping them here. And we also, I'm not a US immigration attorney myself, but we do have a US immigration team as well. And last thing is that I'm drinking water today because I am going to do a session on the implication of criminal proceedings on immigration to Canada right after this. So I'm going to...
It's an extra reason to drink, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
Have a drink.
Okay, and so I will nominate Alice. Have I frozen or?
I think Alice might be frozen.
Or quiet.
We'll come back. Bearshoe, why don't you go next, and then we'll come back to Alice after.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Bearshoe here. My interest joining in today was I have spent a lifetime working for European companies, mostly German companies, actually. So I do understand the headache of running an operation in a foreign country and liaising with that. So my interest, what I'm really looking at is, are there companies that are coming into the country but don't really know where to start? And I'm happy to be that first leader in the country that handholds them and help build the business from the ground up. Let's go to Mike Budworth.
Sure thing. Pleasure to meet everybody. So I'm Mike Budworth. I'm with Caravel Law, and we're a local Toronto-based firm that specializes in assisting foreign companies that have commercial interests in the Canadian marketplace. We have 60 senior lawyers on our team, and although we cover the full range of corporate and commercial requirements, we find the real value to our foreign entities is assisting with their incorporation requirements, immigration, Canadianizing their contractual agreements, employment matters, IP, and leasing tend to be the areas of specialty that most clients need. And I'm interested in meeting anybody who is assisting clients with their Canadian expansion. I'm happy to turn it over now to Alice.
Thank you. My name is Alice Sloan. I'm actually based in Boston, Massachusetts. My connection to Canada is that I used to live in Vancouver many years ago in God's country. I am just starting a company called Sloan Growth Strategies for small and mid-sized companies that are coming into the US and, like Bearshoe, need a lot of hand-holding. We're going to help them with developing their strategy for growth, including, putting in a really good foundation from which to leverage from, and then act as part of their sales team in the capacity as a fractional chief growth officer. So in a couple of weeks, I should have a website up and running, and I'll be happy to share more then. Oh, and I am actually talking to a company in Montreal at the moment that is looking for funding. So maybe that's something, you know, we can talk about later, or if somebody has any connections to investors in Canada, I'd be delighted to talk to you.
That's great. Thanks, Alice. Who wants to go next?
Sorry, I was meant to nominate somebody. I was going to nominate Saprio. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Or SB, my first two initials, that's fine too. Thank you very much, Alice. Hi, good afternoon all. SB Chatterjee, I'm based in Hartford, Connecticut, literally a stone's throw from Bill Kenny. Bill and I go back, I think, almost a decade now. I've been here for well over 3 decades, been doing literally going back to .com 1.0 days, late 90s. And lately, the past several years, I've been very much involved with the startup ecosystem down at Yale, coaching, mentoring, and even being a judge in a couple of the events, but primarily in the healthcare sector, med school, hackathons, and other events. Even the School of Management, I've been doing quite a few coaching and helping them with the event. But last summer, I had a student from the Innovation Center. She did phenomenally well, my mentee. She helped her get a product to the femtech market. She's an international student, and she won, and she entered in another contest. The Schmidt, Eric Schmidt, you know, a former Google executive. He runs a Schmidt Futures, which is a worldwide, you know, several thousand people apply for it. And my mentee won. And I tell you, I was more ecstatic than she was that she won. But what it did was it rejuvenated my interest in the global aspects of things. Our product was in the global arena. And since most of my work is fairly local in the Connecticut area, especially around the Hartford area and New Haven, of course, but I began to think more, trying to bring some of my prior international work. I'd done many years ago after I got my economics degree, I worked in foreign exchange. And then also as I did a project for UNICEF not too long ago in the public health arena.
Hey, SB, we have an agenda today. So if you could just wrap it up.
I get it. Yeah, so what I would like to do now is to really expand on the global aspect of things, on the global aspect of ecosystem. So when I saw this from Bill, I said, I want to be in this. Thank you.
Good. Who do you nominate to introduce himself, SB?
Bill's done. Brian, RDP, the first one on my list.
Brian's been.
Okay. Francis.
Franciscini would be?
Yep, Francis.
That would be me, Franciscini.
Yeah.
I'm a trade commissioner of the Canadian government here in São Paulo, Brazil. Of course, our primary mandate is to promote Canadian business and investment in Brazil, but things are a bit more complex these days. So we also work a lot with Brazilian companies going into Canada. We work a lot with both Canadian and Brazilian companies looking for technical partnerships as well. So any help we can get from people on the ground is great and welcome. So that's in a nutshell. And I'm looking here right in front of my screen at Emmanuel. So Emmanuel, over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone. I've been kind of bobbing this month through the world with soft land. So it's kind of nice to land in Ontario. I'm dialing in from Niagara Falls, Canada. I'm with Group Transit, and what we do is we're an international logistics company. And the reason I'm here today is to connect with possible distributors. Some of my clients are looking for distributors in the United States and in Europe because what we offer is the logistical part only. So hopefully I can connect with some distributors today. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Who do you want to nominate for introduction?
Yes, of course. I thought I might have been the last one. Let me see. Mateus. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, so sorry.
Emmanuel, you came incredibly close. So that was brilliant.
Thank
My name is
you.
Matthijs Kooijman. I work for Attached Language Intelligence. We provide and create content for international companies in more than 23 languages. We have offices in the Netherlands and in Toronto. I'm a huge believer in networking and serendipity. Just by talking to people, you can get things done. And that's why I really like to attend these meetings. Although I am in Amsterdam now, where we are nearing 11 o'clock at night. It's always nice to see those people, and it's always nice to hear new things. So I'm really curious to know what Brian is going to tell, because the incentive program was one of the main reasons for us to come to Toronto. I like to give the word to Hamid. For me, is under in my screen.
Okay, thank you, Matthijs. My name is Hamid Shirazi. I actually work with the Ministry of Economic Development in Ontario, located in Toronto. I am the sector lead for advanced manufacturing and industrial nanotechnology. Recently started on green building sector as well. So we help local companies to grow, and we also help foreign companies to locate in Ontario. The key mandate, as you can imagine, is investment attraction and job creation. So if you have any clients in those sectors, I'd be happy to talk to them. Thank you. And with that, how about J.W. Gile?
Thank you very much, Hamid. Yeah, so I'm working for Toronto Global. Toronto Global is the foreign direct investment agency of the Toronto region, next to Hamilton. So we do pretty much the same as Temi, but then for the Toronto region. And I'm responsible for Western Europe. So we facilitate Western European companies to, first of all, make the business case why they should come to the Toronto region and not Boston, New York, or San Francisco. And then we roll out like a whole a red carpet of services for companies that are actually choosing for the Toronto region. Just like Sarah, I'm an immigrant here. And I also, although for Sarah, it's not by choice to not get rid of her accent. For me, it's not by choice. It's just my accent that keeps hunting me here. So it's great to see everybody here. And I'm heading out for a couple of minutes later because my daughter is going back to university, and somebody has to carry her luggage downstairs to the car. So and that's always me. So if you see me going in and out, then that's why. Next on the list, I see Fan Jing Lu that joined us. So always interested to hear where's he from and what he's doing here. Or maybe somebody else.
I think we also have TJ on here. TJ, are you on?
Yeah, hi. My name is Taranjeet Singh, and I'm having 18 years of experience in IT industry, and I'm a co-founder of Kangaroo.com, which is an Airbnb for shared workspace and event space. Right now, I'm from India, and right now here is 3 a.m. here. It's a bit too late, and but anyways, I want to join this meeting because I'm looking for start a visa program and looking to relocate to the Canada, and that is why I'm here and wanted to know more about the opportunity we can get. Yeah, just me. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you so much, and thanks for everybody in the late time zones for your commitment. Thanks for being here. Let's keep going. So it's a new year with some new challenges, but also same challenges as last year, I guess. but it also means that some changes have been made to grants and incentives. I know Brian, also from a couple of years back when I was with the Netherlands Foreign Investment Agency, running their office in Toronto. I think, Brian, we actually helped you get your office in the Netherlands going, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And we also were able to work together on a few projects. So that was awesome. We stayed in touch, and I'm very happy that you're here. I want to give the floor to you, Brian. Go ahead.
Great, awesome, thanks. And it's nice to see those of you that I've met before as well out there, so it's great. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover some areas of grants, and I understand it's informal. So, I guess if people want to jump in and just ask me questions as I go through, by all means, just jump in and ask me. So I usually start off these presentations by saying, we operate in a lot of other countries, helping companies with government grants, but Canada has more grants than any other country that we operate in. And it was quite a shock to me, actually, when we started operating in these other countries, how much Canada provides, especially for SMEs, that sort of thing. Now, having said that, the common comment we get from a lot of business owners is that, oh yeah, we know there's lots of grants out there in Canada, but we don't know how to go about finding out about them, or whether we should be applying, or whether we qualify, or how much there is, or what's our chance of success, and all these sort of things. And so I think that's what kind of makes it daunting a bit for a lot of companies. So in Canada, Canada has like a bit of a strategy behind grants. So if I kind of focus a little bit on companies, say, coming into Canada, for example, there's three buckets, and these buckets will apply to any company in Canada, but I'm going to kind of just focus on that a little bit. So the buckets are R&D and innovation. So basically that means companies, creating new products, new processes, new solutions, that sort of thing. So industrial R&D, or business R&D, what I would call it. And then there's a bucket for hiring and training, okay? And then there's a bucket for Canadian companies to export, because Canadian companies really, comparatively speaking to other countries in the world, Canadian companies don't do a good job in exporting. In other words, their percentage of export sales in comparison to other companies in other countries are much, much lower. So there's a real big push on by Canada to get Canadian companies to export. So even if you're coming into Canada, for example, and you say you set up to say you're coming from Europe, and you're going to set up in Canada, maybe even think about accessing the US market from Canada, you can get a grant in Canada up to $75,000 to go into the US to market there. Now, there's a few criteria, of course, with all these grants you've got to meet, but nonetheless, you can get 75% of your marketing costs covered. And for example, the US is actually considered 4 separate foreign markets. So you could apply 4 consecutive times to go into the US and market your service or product, that sort of thing. And we've used this grant a couple of times, and it's been great because, when you get 75% of your marketing costs covered, so that's things like right now what it's covered is like digital media marketing, because no one can travel, right? So all your digital media costs, your SEO costs, all sorts of things like that, they're all covered. And also hiring someone in a foreign jurisdiction to help you sell. So all of these things are kind of included. So I would say that's one real popular grant right now. And we've had a very high success rate on that, probably in excess of 90% of our clients are getting funding under that program. So that's just kind of one thing. So coming back to the other buckets, like if we look at, say, hiring and training, they tend to be the smaller grants, but nonetheless, some companies, really like to access them. So at the real small end of the scale, if a company, brings on a co-op student from a university, so say they're setting up, an R&D team in Canada or something, and they want to bring on some co-op students just to check them out, maybe for future hires, you can get up to $7,500 per co-op per work term. So again, you're going to go to U of Waterloo or U of T or something like that, or either colleges. You can bring someone in there and get a grant, and that's a pretty good grant against a work term. Then you go a step higher and you can deal with organizations like MyTax. So what MyTax will do will go into the universities with your job description. And again, look for a technical person at the master's level or higher. And these people will come and work for you, for your company, anywhere from 2 months to 2 years. And MyTax will subsidize the cost of that person anywhere from 20 to 50%, sometimes higher. So again, it's another avenue to find good talent, you know. Then taking it a step higher, there's a program called Career Launcher, which you can get up to $30,000 for hiring a tech person or someone in clean tech or someone in natural resources, stuff like that. And that's for hiring someone under the age of 30 for those positions. So, you know, you've got all these kind of programs. And as I said, they tend to be smaller grants, but nonetheless, you know, a lot of companies are interested in taking advantage of that. And then you have training grants. So if you're in Ontario and you have less than 100 people, you can get 83% of the cost of third-party training covered. You know, so that could be training for sales, training for admin, technical, things like that. And then, you know, we get into the bigger areas, the bigger grants, which would be R&D and innovation. So Canada's had, you know, IRAP around for a long time. So this is a grant program. Industrial Research Assistance Program. They typically give out between $50,000 and $500,000 for research projects. And again, we're talking business level research. So developing new products, you know, processes, that sort of thing. And then Canada's flagship program would be its R&D tax credit program. We call it the SHRED program for scientific research and experimental development. Now, if you're coming into Canada and you're not a Canadian-controlled private company, the SHRED credits typically range from about 18% up to about 25, 30%, depending upon what province you're in. And again, depending upon what province you're in, sometimes the credit is refundable, meaning if you're in a loss position, you can get cash back. And sometimes it's not refundable, but generally you can carry it forward 20 years to apply against future taxes on profit. But the SHRED program gives out about $3 billion a year, 20,000 companies at least apply for it. What I like about the SHRED program is if you meet the criteria, you get the credits. There's no competition with other companies. There's no budget on the program. You just get it. Now, of course, they audit it and things like that, but generally, you know, our success rate is above, you know, 98%, 99% on that program. So it's a very good tax credit program. If you're a Canadian-controlled private company, you can get back 40% of what you spend on R&D, and that comes back by way of a check. So that's an excellent program if you're a Canadian-controlled private company. And then you get into even bigger programs. So now in Canada, we have the super clusters. So there's a super cluster for digital tech, a super cluster for plant protein, advanced manufacturing, AI supply chain, and ocean tech. And these super clusters have a lot of money. They fund projects anywhere from 50,000 to 30 million, and they give out about 40% of those project costs. The trick with the super cluster, though, is that one company alone cannot apply for funding. So again, it's R&D project related and commercialization of that. They have to partner with other companies. So in order to apply for these super clusters, a group of companies basically have to come together and have a project. The lead person in that group can take up to 70% of the funding, you know, and the rest can get 30%, but you do need to come in as a group. So these super clusters are new to Canada. Canadian companies aren't used to collaborating on R&D projects a lot, but we're starting to see it pick up, you know, and what the super clusters are trying to do is create these research centers like advanced manufacturing in Ontario, for example, you know, so bringing together all companies that are advancing manufacturing, whether it's process lines or sensor technology or putting AI into it, all these sort of things. But again, you know, these are funding, you know, fairly large projects up to 30 million. And then going up another rung, we have the Strategic Innovation Fund, which has a minimum requirement of $20 million for a research project. So it's basically 20 million and up. And so they're giving out, you know, grants of probably, you know, 8 million or more, you know, per companies. Now, this is a very competitive program. I think last year in 2020 being, you know, with the COVID year, I think they only awarded a small handful, 2 to 4 or something that got grants, that sort of thing. So it's very, very competitive. But then what's coming into Canada too that they're starting to do, or we're starting to see more grants on climate change. So Canada has a program called the Sustainable Development Technology Fund. So it's actually a fairly broad grant program, and it funds startups or anything like that, but they fund bigger projects. So their typical grant is $3 million and they fund a third. So they're kind of looking for projects that are, you know, at least 3 million and up, but they will fund pre-revenue companies to do that. But what they're looking for is any product or something that you're going to develop that's going to have the impact of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so it can be any product or anything like this, just got to have that impact on the environment. Okay, and when you're applying, it is funny because yes, they want that impact of greenhouse gas emissions, but they also want you to have an excellent business plan where you're going to be able to commercialize that technology and make money. But it's a very good program. We've actually had very good success with that program. The government also has $1 billion stashed away, believe it or not, to come out with more programs on climate change. So I don't know where they're getting that money, but I guess they're printing it these days, so it doesn't really matter, but they're bringing that out. And then they're also have another $1 billion set aside for social innovation. So we're expecting to see a lot more roll out in those areas. So kind of in a nutshell, I kind of went through things pretty quickly, but those are kind of what I would say the flagship programs that we're seeing for 2021. So maybe I'll pass it back to Dennis, and if there's any questions, happy to field any questions. Or
I was going to open the floor right away. Thank you, Brian, for your remarks there. I see Tammy there waving. Go ahead, Tammy.
Thank you, Brian. I was wondering if you can give us a bit of a walkthrough of the startup visa, because I know that TJ had specifically asked about that. Hamilton's thinking about the startup visa. So perhaps you can give us a little more of an overview on like what you see the startup visa landscape looking like and whether this is a good opportunity for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm the right person on that one. We don't get too much into the startup visas. That might be someone else that can be better answer that question.
I think
that you can, sorry, go ahead, Dennis.
No, I wanted to say Sarah is on the call here. I don't know if you heard the question, Sarah, but TJ had some questions about startup visa. So I don't know, maybe that's a longer and broader discussion. Maybe you guys can
directly. I think that's probably a better idea. I mean, a sort of a very broad overview of the startup visa is that it's a program through which individuals it's a pathway to permanent residence, but there are sort of like 3 prongs, and one involves having an angel investor on board, the other involves venture capitalists, and the third one involves an incubator. And so there's a list of incubators. There's also a lot of organizations out there in Canada that will sort of assist with this process. From an immigration lawyer perspective on this, and I know some of my colleagues share my views on this, the program has been a bit problematic in some ways, and it has to do with, I guess, some of the players in the industry in terms of those that are there to provide support. There's been some of them are a little bit questionable. So I do know a couple of companies that will assist with that process, and I'm more than happy, TJ, if you'd like to connect with me to talk to you further about that. But it is sort of a longer conversation than just a couple of minutes, if that's acceptable. I have no problem if you'd like me to on another sort of meeting doing a little presentation on it, but that would be sort of a very quick high-level overview on it. I find often actually when when individuals come and talk to me about the startup visa or business owners, that we find there might actually be a better route for them. So I don't always necessarily recommend it as the best route.
Cool, thanks, Sarah. Maybe Sarah in the chat box, maybe you can quickly drop your email in there, sure. And then TJ can connect with you directly.
Sure. Be my pleasure.
Sure, thanks.
Awesome, good connection. Any more questions on grants and incentives? SB?
A few. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You mentioned climate technology, sustainability. Could you please say a few words about it? I recently read an article by Bill Gates, and I firmly believe that we need international cooperation in that endeavor. So it'll be great to have that.
Right, right. Well, I mean, the grant I was speaking about in Canada is, of course, is Canadian companies that are going to apply for this grant. Now, these Canadian companies, they could partner with other organizations as well. So if there are other international companies that are, interested in the same technology, there's no reason why the Canadian company couldn't partner with that. It's just that when the Canadian company is applying for this, they want to promote Canadian companies. So if they're giving a grant to a Canadian company, they want to make sure the Canadian company owns that IP and can exploit the results of the research and the development of that. But again, it's a very good program in that, they cover up to a third of all costs, and all costs can be working capital costs, salaries, materials, and then there's equipment that can be covered and all sorts of things like that. So it's a really good program. And as I was saying, we're expecting more programs to come out because they've been saying they have $1 billion set aside to come out with more climate change programs. And this is business oriented programs. So businesses coming up with solutions for climate change.
Thank you.
There was one other program I didn't mention. I think Dennis wanted me to mention, and I'm not sure how much application it has here, but I talked about this CAN export program that helps Canadian companies export into foreign markets. But also as part of the CAN export, there's kind of almost the opposite. So if you're a nonprofit organization at the community level and you're trying to attract foreign direct investment into Canada, there's a program there to get a grant. So you can't be a federal organization or a provincial organization, but if you're a nonprofit organization trying to attract foreign investment into Canada, you can get a grant anywhere from $3,000 to $500,000 or 50% of the costs to help you attract these companies into Canada. So I just wanted to mention that program as well.
Yeah, cool.
Just a quick note, Bill, on the CAN export. You mentioned the U.S. is actually divided into 4 regions. So is Brazil. So a company trying to explore the Brazilian market also has the 4 regions they can explore simultaneously with CAN export.
Great. Yeah, good.
Brian, can I ask a question about the export activities? I was interested to hear that you said that part of that grant includes being able to hire people to help you with sales and market development. How can somebody like me get in touch with those companies? Do we have to subscribe to a database, or is it purely networking? What's the protocol for that?
Well, first of all, yes, you're absolutely right. The cost of your services would qualify as a cost that, say, a Canadian company would get a grant against. So, they could get up to 75% of your cost covered if they engaged you, a Canadian company engaged you to help them sell into the US. How you would try to find these companies, it's a bit difficult in that because it's an open program, you can apply anytime and it's open to any company in Canada, so it's not like it's a particular industry segment or anything like that. It can apply to retail, it can apply to manufacturers, it can apply to tech companies, it can apply to, and virtually any company. So, I'm not sure, how you find out these companies. But because, you just want to find any company that's just looking to break into the US market, right? But it can be any industry, I mean, the way we do it, to try to find those companies, frankly, is just to go through networks like this and just put the word out that this kind of grant's out there. That it's available, and just try to get it out there as much as we can. And we find some intermediaries like accounting firms kind of help out because they're aware of their clients and what their plans are and what they're trying to do. So, that's one area that we get some referrals from.
Alice, this is Marshall. This is Marshall from Brazil, from São Paulo. Possibly one good way for you is to link with the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service in your region. A lot of the Canadian companies actually go through our offices asking for referrals for services provider and firms like yours. So it never hurts to link up with with my colleagues in your region.
Thank you. Yeah, I do know a few of them, so I'm going to do that. And thanks, Brian, for your comments. That was really helpful.
And if I may, Alice, as well, multipliers are a great channel as well, especially chambers of commerce. So you can also try that avenue.
Certainly. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate the help.
Yeah, and maybe even industry associations, like if there's any that you're familiar with or work through, anytime you can get to, in front of their members, that's a good opportunity too.
Perfect.
Right on. Brian, a question I had in the past was based on the superclusters. I was working with a company, and the question they had was, because if you're not familiar with it, it looks like the superclusters are anchored in a specific region. But that's not the case, right? You can apply for a supercluster and regardless where you're located.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good point. I mean, physically, I think they have offices in those locations around Canada, but you can be a member of a supercluster no matter where you reside in Canada.
And to add on to that, Hamilton has the advanced manufacturing supercluster.
Right.
What you say, MIP in Hamilton?
Hamilton. MIP is in Hamilton, Jonathan.
Hamilton's in Ontario too, so.
And Brian, on the supercluster thing, would the group of companies, would one of the companies could be foreign, or they have to be all Canadian?
Well, the companies could be foreign, but you have to have at least one Canadian partner, one Canadian company as a partner.
Okay.
Brian, question for you around that opposite of exporting, of trying to get companies into Canada. Did you say this does it only apply to not-for-profit organizations, or can I, as a company, partner with a foreign company and apply into this fund?
Yeah, no, it's really just for nonprofit organizations. So I think the idea is that they call it like a community level nonprofit organization. So, it could be, like take a town in Ontario or something, and they're trying to attract foreign investors into Canada. They're not part of the provincial government. It's at the town level. It's a nonprofit organization. They're trying to get more foreign businesses to come into their community. That's for that type of organization.
Okay, I appreciate it. Francis Kinney, when you are talking about the super clusters, like Brian was saying, it is, I worked on a couple of projects with the manufacturing super cluster, and it's extremely important to them that you actually have the Canadian company taking ownership of the IP. Not only that, and they are driving a lot around technology, and most of what happens in technology, there are people scattered around the world that will come and do some of that work. Not acceptable. You cannot claim against that work. So it has to be work that mainly is done here. A little bit of it will be credited as long as it's done outside, but it can only be a tiny portion, because the whole idea is to help train Canadians and to help develop the Canadian technology around it.
Yeah, that's definitely right. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. If there's no more other questions, Brian, thank you so much for this. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Brian, maybe drop your email also in the chat so people can reach out to you directly as well with any type of questions they have. And for everyone else too, please connect with each other. So basically what we do now, after we sort of closed up this little this section, we talk about needs and opportunities. So what we're going to do is open the floor to everyone, and you can discuss or bring up anything you have, as long as it's not self-promotion. But if you have a webinar that's coming up, if you're organizing an event virtually, or a client has a certain need, this is the time to do so. What I'll do as well right now is, because we're coming up, we have a little bit of time, but if you have to go, feel free to go. You don't have to announce that you're leaving. You know, do your Sarah, do the Irish exit. Pun intended. Do what you got to do. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to let you know that our next meetup is on March 25th at 4 p.m., where we're going to talk about cultural differences related to market entry. You'll see it pop up again on LinkedIn. I'll make sure that I'll invite everybody again, but also come to the meeting, bring all your friends. One of the things I do want to ask is, if you say that you're going to come, the next sort of step you have to do, which you guys already did, but you also need to register on Eventbrite to actually get the link to the Zoom meeting. Very important, otherwise you can't access. So anyways, thanks for being here. I'm going to open up the floor for everybody. Go ahead, and hopefully we'll see everybody next month again. Thanks. Go ahead.
Bye, everyone.
Sarah. Oh, bye, Sarah.
Oh, yeah, she had another meeting she had to attend to.
So I think there was other lawyers on this call. I don't know if there's other lawyers on this call, but I saw that there was recently some legislation that came down that got Queen's assent, that now Ontario-based companies can now have foreign investors as part of their directors. I just wanted to ask if there was any expertise around that. I just wanted to know, where is that and how far away are we from actually implementing that?
As far as I know, it's still it's in the pipeline still. It needs to be fully approved, but it's coming. Yeah. So no longer you have to incorporate in either BC or New Brunswick, but the next step is that you can actually incorporate with foreign with more than 25% or 100% in Ontario. But it's coming, yeah. Because I think, yeah, Brian left, Sarah left, but yeah, we've been talking about that too. It's coming. It's coming.
Well, make sure sometimes I get inquiries from international investors around that particular point, like, okay, well, how many Canadian directors do I need, and blah, blah, blah. So just because that might be a stumbling block when it comes for international firms to come to Canada. So I know that it was on its way. I just didn't, and I know that it had hit several key milestones. I just didn't know when it was actually coming into practice. So that way I can share with my clients about that.
I think when it's fully confirmed, you'll see enough on LinkedIn come by, because I think every lawyer in Ontario is going to be super happy and will boast about it.
Yeah.
Cool. Does anyone have anything cool going on? Is there any webinars coming, any meetings coming up that are interesting?
We're actually, Enterprise Florida Canada is doing a life sciences specific webinar with Toronto Board of Trade and Toronto World Trade Center on March 10th. I'll share the link on the chat here, so feel free to join. It's free, and it'll give you a good perspective on life sciences sector in Florida, and if your clientele want to find partners or investment opportunities, it'll be a good event to attend.
Well, thanks, Ezra.
Cool. I'll share real quick that Softland Partners in March will be launching a speakers bureau. So anyone of our members can join and be listed as a speaker. Obviously now, besides conferences and trade missions, there are also many podcasts and webinars that are looking for good content. So we see this fantastic group of variety of expertises around internationalization and market entry as being a great resource for all of those great content opportunities. So stay tuned for that. It should be online certainly by mid-month. So we're just finishing up the details right now.
I can be entertaining.
Clearly, there's no doubt, Tammy. There is no doubt.
That's amazing. Maybe a shameless plug for Soft Land Partners. If you so we do these meetings every month. There's 19 globally, which are free to join. We also have a group. If you're a trade and investment professional like Tammy or Hesam, you guys can join for free. You can sign up and become a partner. We have a Slack channel where we talk, and to become a member as a service provider is only $100 a year. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's correct. And yeah, and we do ask for anyone that's participating to just participate once as a guest. And the part of the reason is as you go through the process of joining, you agree to a certain code of conduct and ethics. And we obviously want to assure that ethos sort of carries through, not just the meetups, but the conversations we have and the work we do together, sort of offline, if you will. So that's a kind of important attribute. But our goal is to build a big and highly competent and ethical community.
So where do we find out more information of joining this community?
Thank you for teeing me up, Tammy. I'm sending you $5 right now. So yeah, we'll send a follow-up email. You'll see it by tomorrow morning, and it's all real easy and only a few questions. We don't even draw blood, so it's super simple. But yeah, if you have any questions when you get the email, just let us know.
You have to be COVID free in order to join this?
At a distance, no. You can have COVID, you can have whatever you like, and you can join on Zoom. For sure. But no, it's yeah, and one of the things that is actually really cool, I think that members only have access to is we have a global members meetup once a month, and we actually have our next one next Wednesday. And we're going to be testing out a new format where we're breaking up into small groups and getting into some interesting discussions, which we're totally excited to see how that works. But typically that's a pretty good sized meeting, sort of 30 plus folks from all over the world, really good connections.
Yeah, and even a Slack channel is worth it, just to be part of a large global group where people just constantly ask for advice, but also for, there's leads going around as well.
Almost every day there's a request for some service. Yeah. Cool. It's so great to see you all, for sure. And it's exciting to see the community come together.
Good group today.
Yeah.
Brian, you pulled them all in.
It's like the Beatles. It's really.
Anytime, man.
Well, have a good night, everyone. I'm taking off. See you guys.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Cheers. Nice job, Dennis.